Kelly. I want to thank Wayne. I want to thank your association. Before I get started with my 3-hour-long dissertation on insurance, which I'm sure all of you are looking forward to. But seriously, I do want to say thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. This is the second year that you guys have chosen us as your charity for the golf tournament, and we are very grateful for the money that has provided us with the and also given us the ability to travel, go to Tallahassee, hire, as you'll hear in my update, hire an actuary, and several other things that you'll hear about as I go along. But I did want to say thanks to all of you, because without people like you, we wouldn't exist. So before anything, thank you all so very much. I think some of you are familiar with the firm's story. We began in a Key West backyard about 10 years ago over windstorm insurance rates that were just going absolutely crazy at the time. A group of homeowners in Key West, literally over a fence in a Key West backyard, started just kind of going back and forth about the high windstorm rates, and firm was born. Now we're fast forwarding 10 years. Our mission, though, has not changed. We are here to fight against unaffordable, abusive, and rates that people just cannot pay for anymore in their residences, in their condominium associations, and in the commercial property. So the mission hasn't changed. Our focus now has expanded a little bit in that we used to be strictly fighting windstorm, but these days we also have to focus more so, believe it or not, on flood insurance. But I'll talk about windstorm and our reduced insurance premiums project. I'm sure some of you have heard about the RIP report. We inspected approximately 704 homes throughout Monroe County. Those homes were selected kind of randomly. They had to be, just to prove the statistical validity. And I'm amazed that I'm learning all these new big words, statistical validity, of the population. So the homes were finally inspected. We kind of miscalculated. We thought that once we sent out our contact information, that people would be beating down our doors to have their home inspected. Well, it didn't turn out that way. A lot of people were very leery of what we were trying to do. People didn't want inspectors going to their homes. We had to repeatedly assure them that the information that was gathered was going to be confidential, shared only with them. We weren't going to report them to the IRS or Monroe County government or anything else. So that process actually took 18 months to complete. And it was just completed about August of last year. We have now, fast forward to today, all of that data has been compiled. That data is now being run through at least 2, possibly 3 different catastrophe models. With the information that comes out of those models, remember that the catastrophe models drive the rate that all of you pay, or that all of your potential customers pay. So we now are at the point of almost extracting all that data from the models. We have, as I mentioned earlier, we have contracted with an actuary. That actuary is going to study the data that comes from the models. And we are actually going to propose a Monroe County rate filing to citizens and the Office of Insurance Regulation, hopefully in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So we anticipate that obviously the rates will be lower than what we are seeing today, but we don't know that yet for certain, as we haven't seen the data come out. But we're pretty comforted in what we saw in the preliminary data from the inspection process, that our homes, as we had alleged all along, are built to a much higher standard, a much tougher code, and has been for many years. As I go through this presentation, this is pretty boring for me, so please ask me any questions you may have, because I love to interact with people, not just recite stuff from memory. Please. So that's pretty much where we are with the windstorm report and citizens. We continue on the glide path with citizens. I call it the glide path to destruction, because it seems like no matter what, we still get whacked with a 10% rate increase every year. I don't know if some of you have experienced that. So while we were able to somewhat hold them back in 2006, that march of 10% a year, 10% a year, over time becomes 100%. So we are still fighting that glide path. Hopefully with this rate filing, we will be able to put an end to the infamous glide path. I'm sure all of you have also seen numerous new companies that are coming into Monroe County to write business. They are depopulating policies from citizens. That has raised a lot of questions from a lot of people. The majority of these companies are what I call admitted carriers. They have been vetted by the Office of Insurance Regulation. They are covered by the Florida Insurance Guarantee Association. So what I tell people all the time when they call me with the depopulation letters, get the letter, go to your agent, sit down with your agent, and listen to what his advice is for you. Okay? The last thing that I do want to talk about and touch upon is flood. I know a lot of you have read a lot in the local media, possibly read a lot in the national media about flood insurance and what's going on down here. I will tell you that we are right now in the process of having our flood maps redrawn. That process supposedly should end by 2019. It's not just a cut and dry process that they have the rate maps redrawn and there is no ability to contest their findings. There is a process where we will be able to go and study the rate maps, see where they are, and if we have a problem, we can contest them. The other thing that is coming up in probably about 14 months is the reauthorization of the National Flood Insurance Program. If you remember back in 2012, several months before 2012, we had flood, we didn't have flood, we had flood, we didn't have flood, and it affected closings, it affected a whole bunch of things. In light of that, they authorized the National Flood Insurance Program for 5 years, and that brings us to 2017. Part of that reauthorization was the Biggert Waters Flood Insurance Reform Act. I don't know if all of you are familiar with that, but that practically almost destroyed our real estate down here for a while. There was then a legislation that was put together that kind of abated some of the worst aspects of Biggert Waters flood, but some of the worst ones are still out there. We're seeing it today with secondary homes. We're seeing it with condominium associations. So some of the worst aspects are still there. The only thing that I will tell you, we are fighting, we're going to fight quite heavily for the reauthorization. We want to make sure that we keep our grandfathering in effect. A lot of people that are part of this reauthorization process want to do away with grandfathering, which would be utterly devastating for us. We want to make sure that we keep pre-firm subsidized rates. We would like to do away with the surcharge, the onerous surcharge they put on secondary homes down here, as well as the surcharges that they're putting on the condo association. So those are some of the things that we're working on at firm. It's quite a bit. You guys can help through your national organization as far as the reauthorization of the Flood Insurance Act. I'm sure you guys will be involved in that in some way. There is legislation that has passed the House, and it is a flood insurance reform bill. We at firm are not happy with this bill, and the reason we're not happy with this bill is because it also includes surplus lines or non-admitted companies, the ability to write flood. And the big issue that we have with that is that those companies are not covered by any type of a guarantee association. They are also not covered by rate or form requirements from the Office of Insurance Regulation. It has passed the House. It is now in the Senate. But we are we at firm are opposed to it just specifically because of those features. That pretty much does it as far as an update as to what we're doing at firm. Obviously, I want to talk about our golf tournament on June 19th. Again, thanking all of you, hoping that some of you who haven't contributed yet will contribute. But with that being said, you guys have any questions of me? Well, thanks again very much.